We descended through the thick, jade-hued atmosphere of Tharnis, the alien planet's gravity pulling our ship with an almost palpable force. Tharnis sprawled below, its landscape a blend of verdant forests and crystalline structures that shimmered under a sun unlike any I had seen before. As we landed, the hum of the engines dimmed, and the anticipation in the cabin thickened. "Prepare for disembarkation," I ordered, my voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through my veins. As the hatch opened, a wave of cool, fragrant air washed over us, carrying scents that were both familiar and utterly alien. My team and I stepped onto Tharnis, greeted by a delegation of Tharn diplomats. Their regal bearing and intricately adorned robes reflected a society steeped in tradition and advanced in technology. At the forefront stood a figure of remarkable composure, Nira. Her eyes, a deep violet, met mine with a mixture of caution and curiosity. "Welcome to Tharnis," she said, her voice smooth and commanding. "I am Nira, a representative of the Tharn Council." "Jason," I replied, extending my hand. "We come in peace and with a desire to learn from each other." She hesitated for a moment, then clasped my hand firmly, a gesture that seemed to seal an unspoken agreement. We were led to a grand ceremonial hall, its high ceiling supported by pillars of transparent material that refracted light into dazzling patterns. The Tharn Council, an assembly of their most esteemed elders, awaited us. Their expressions were inscrutable, their eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom and experience. As the initial pleasantries concluded, an elder Tharn named Oler stood to address us. His voice, though aged, resonated with authority. But as he spoke, a tremor passed through him. His hand, gripping the edge of the podium, turned pale and wrinkled before our eyes. Gasps echoed through the hall. Nira was the first to react, rushing to Olar's side. She knelt beside him, her hands glowing with a soft light as she attempted some form of healing. But it was clear she was fighting a losing battle. Olar's once vibrant skin sagged and grayed, his eyes losing their luster. Fear flickered across Nira's face, an emotion that seemed almost foreign to her. I watched, the gravity of the situation sinking in. The Tharn, a race believed to be immortal, were aging, and it had begun with our arrival. In the days that followed, Nira immersed herself in her laboratory, a state-of-the-art facility filled with equipment that would make any Earth scientist green with envy. I managed to secure a place by her side, assisting where I could and observing her work. "Nira," I began during a rare moment of calm, "what's causing this?" She glanced up, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. "I have a theory," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "Something in your DNA is triggering a genetic defect in the Tharn. I need to confirm it." Hours turned into days, and finally, Nira's research bore fruit. She presented her findings to the Tharn Council, her voice steady but edged with urgency. "Our immortality is compromised," Nira announced, her gaze sweeping across the council members. "Human DNA interacts with our genome, activating a dormant defect." The room erupted into chaos, elders arguing and demanding answers. Nira stood firm, her determination unwavering. "We need cooperation," she continued. "If we are to find a solution, we must work with the humans." I stepped forward, meeting the eyes of the council. "We share a common goal. Let's find a way to save both our peoples." The next revelation came swiftly. Nira discovered that the key to reversing the genetic defect lay in a hybrid child, a girl named Ayla, hidden away by her Tharn mother. We had to find her. Our journey across Tharnis was treacherous. We traversed dense forests, their bioluminescent foliage casting an eerie glow and scaled, jagged mountains that seemed to pierce the sky. A storm hit us halfway through our journey, the wind howling like a living entity, rain lashing down with relentless fury. "We need shelter," I shouted over the storm, pointing to a cave nestled in a rocky outcrop. We scrambled inside, soaked and shivering. As we huddled around a small fire, I noticed Nira's gaze fixed on the flickering flames, a rare moment of vulnerability on her face. "What are you thinking?" I asked, breaking the silence. She sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I fear what we might find. Ayla is our hope, but what if it's too late?" "We can't think like that," I replied. "We have to believe we can save your people." Nira nodded, determination rekindled in her eyes. "You're right. We'll find her. We must." Our journey resumed, but it wasn't long before we encountered a militant Tharn faction led by Eldar. They blocked our path, their weapons drawn and eyes filled with contempt. "Step aside," Nira commanded, her voice icy. Eldar sneered. "You bring a human here, Nira, and expect us to bow to your wishes. Ayla is an abomination. She will not save us. She will destroy us." Tension crackled in the air. I could see Nira's mind racing, searching for a way to diffuse the situation. "Eldar," she said, her tone softening, "Ayla is our only hope. This is not about purity. It's about survival." Eldar's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, I stepped forward, my hands raised in a placating gesture. "Listen to her," I urged. "We're on the same side here. We all want to save the Tharn. Let us pass, and you can be part of the solution." For a moment it seemed like Eldar might refuse, but then he stepped aside, his face a mask of barely concealed rage. "Go," he spat, "but remember, if you fail, it will be on your heads." As we continued our journey, the weight of the mission settled heavily on our shoulders. We had no room for failure. The fate of the Tharn, and possibly the humans, depended on us finding Ayla and unlocking the secret to her genetic code. The village lay nestled in a secluded valley, a place where time seemed to stand still. As we approached, the curious eyes of the villagers followed our every move. They had never seen humans before, and their apprehension was palpable. Nira and I exchanged a glance, both of us acutely aware of the delicate situation. We found Ayla and her mother, Lyra, in a modest home at the edge of the village. Lyra's eyes, dark with suspicion, flicked between us and her daughter, who stood partly hidden behind her. Ayla was striking, with the same violet eyes as Nira, but softened by a hint of human features. "We're here to help," I began, my voice calm and measured. "Ayla has the potential to save the Tharn race." Lyra stepped forward, shielding her daughter. "Why should I trust you? You bring nothing but danger." Nira moved closer, her expression earnest. "Lyra, I know this is overwhelming, but Ayla's unique heritage can reverse the genetic defect affecting our people. She's our only hope." Ayla peered at us, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. "Why me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I don't understand." I knelt down, trying to meet her gaze. "You have a gift, Ayla. It's true that it's a heavy burden, but you're not alone. We're here to protect you." After what felt like an eternity, Lyra nodded slowly, her resolve wavering. "If it means saving our people, I won't stand in your way." Ayla stepped forward, still hesitant but with a glimmer of determination in her eyes. "I'll go with you." The journey back to the capital was tense, but uneventful. Ayla's presence seemed to cast a protective aura around us, warding off any further attempts from Eldar's faction. As we entered the grand city, the streets buzzed with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Word had spread of the hybrid child. We wasted no time and took Ayla straight to the medical facility. The advanced technology of the Tharn was a marvel, with holographic interfaces and diagnostic machines that could analyze DNA in mere moments. Ayla lay on an examination table, her face pale but composed. Nira worked tirelessly, her focus unwavering. I stayed close, offering what support I could. After hours of intense examination, Nira finally looked up, her eyes shining with a mixture of exhaustion and hope. Her DNA. "It's incredible," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It holds the key to reversing the aging defect." A murmur of excitement spread through the room. For the first time since the crisis began, there was a tangible sense of hope. The news of Ayla's potential ignited a firestorm within the Tharn Council. The council chamber, usually a place of serene debate, was now a battleground of clashing ideologies. Eldar and his followers were vocally opposed to using Ayla's DNA, seeing it as a corruption of their purity. "This abomination cannot be our savior," Eldar shouted, his voice echoing through the hall. "We must preserve the integrity of our race, not taint it with human genes." Nira stood firm, her voice calm but resolute. "Eldar, this is not about purity. It's about survival. Ayla's DNA is our only chance to reverse the aging defect." I watched as the council members argued, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. The division was clear: those who supported Nira's scientific findings and those who clung to Eldar's xenophobic ideology. Meanwhile, my own troubles were mounting. My superiors back on Earth had caught wind of the situation and were pressuring me to return. They feared that further involvement would jeopardize diplomatic relations and potentially expose humans to the same genetic issues. "Nira," I said one evening, as we sat in her lab, the weight of the day pressing down on us, "I'm being ordered to leave. They think I'm compromising our mission." She looked at me, her eyes reflecting the same conflict I felt. "You have to do what you think is right, Jason, but I can't protect Ayla alone." "I know," I replied, my resolve hardening. "I won't leave. Not now." The tension reached a boiling point during a public appearance arranged to demonstrate the progress we had made with Ayla's DNA. The square was filled with Tharn citizens, their faces a mix of hope and apprehension. Nira stood beside Ayla, her hand gently resting on the girl's shoulder. Eldar's faction struck swiftly. A masked figure emerged from the crowd, a weapon raised towards Ayla. Time seemed to slow as the assassin moved, the intent clear and deadly. Ayla reacted instinctively. A shimmering barrier of energy erupted around her, deflecting the attack. The crowd gasped, their fear turning to awe. Nira was already moving, her own abilities flaring as she shielded Ayla further. I sprang into action, tackling the assassin to the ground. The fight was brief but brutal, showcasing combat skills I rarely had the chance to use. As I subdued the attacker, the realization of the danger we faced hit me like a tidal wave. The assassination attempt, though thwarted, had left its mark. Ayla's abilities had manifested in a way no one had expected, revealing her true potential. It also solidified the bond between us. She was no longer just a reluctant participant. She was a fighter, ready to stand with us. In the aftermath, Nira, Ayla, and I stood together, a united front against the growing tide of extremism. The attempt on Ayla's life had only strengthened our resolve and the bond between us. We knew the path ahead would be fraught with danger, but together we were ready to face it. The Tharn Council reconvened, the air thick with tension. Eldar's actions had further polarized the factions, but there was also a newfound respect for Ayla. She was no longer just a hybrid child. She was a symbol of hope and resilience. Nira and I knew that the fight for the Tharn's survival had only just begun. With Ayla by our side, we were prepared to navigate the treacherous political landscape, combat the extremist threats, and unlock the secrets of her DNA. The fate of both our races depended on it. The situation in the capital had become untenable. Eldar's faction was growing bolder, and the assassination attempt had underscored the peril we faced. Nira, Ayla, and I decided that our best chance of survival lay in the ancient Tharn sanctuary deep within the sacred forest. The journey there was fraught with danger, but we had no other choice. The forest was a vast, dense expanse of towering trees and thick underbrush, illuminated by the bioluminescent flora that gave the night an ethereal glow. We moved quickly but cautiously, every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs putting us on edge. Nira led the way, her knowledge of the forest's hidden paths guiding us through the treacherous terrain. After hours of relentless travel, we finally arrived at the sanctuary. It was a breathtaking structure carved into the side of a mountain and adorned with ancient Tharn symbols and artwork. The sanctuary had an aura of serenity, a stark contrast to the turmoil we had left behind. "This place has stood for millennia," Nira said, her voice reverent. "It's a refuge, a place of learning and healing." We settled in, and it became clear that this sanctuary would be more than just a hideout. Here, Ayla began training to control her abilities under Nira's guidance. Each day, Nira pushed her to understand and harness her powers, while I worked on fortifying our defenses, setting up makeshift barriers and traps to deter any potential attackers. One evening, as the sun set and the sanctuary glowed with a warm, golden light, Ayla sat by the fire, her face determined yet weary. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "Why was I given these abilities?" Nira knelt beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You're special, Ayla. Your hybrid nature is a bridge between our worlds. You have the power to bring about change." I added, "You're not alone in this. We're here with you, every step of the way." Ayla nodded, her resolve strengthening. She practiced tirelessly, her control over her abilities growing stronger each day. We knew the time would come when she would need to use them. That time arrived sooner than we had anticipated. One night, the peace of the sanctuary was shattered by the sounds of battle. Eldar and his extremists had found us. Their attack was swift and brutal, a full-scale assault aimed at destroying us and capturing Ayla. "Nira, get Ayla to safety!" I shouted as the first wave of attackers breached our defenses. Nira nodded, grabbing Ayla's hand and leading her deeper into the sanctuary. I rallied the few allies we had, a mix of Tharn loyalists and human volunteers who had chosen to stand with us. The battle was fierce, the air thick with the sounds of clashing weapons and cries of pain. I fought with everything I had, driven by the knowledge that Ayla's survival was paramount. In the midst of the chaos, Ayla's abilities manifested in a way we had never seen before. She stepped forward, eyes glowing with an intense light, and unleashed a wave of energy that sent Eldar's forces reeling. The tide of the battle began to turn in our favor. Nira fought with a ferocity that belied her calm demeanor, her every move calculated and precise. Together, we held the line, refusing to let the sanctuary fall. Allies from both races arrived to support us, their determination bolstering our own. They had come, united by the common goal of protecting Ayla and the future she represented. The battle raged on, each moment a test of our endurance and will. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we stood victorious. Eldar lay defeated, his followers either captured or scattered. But our victory had come at a cost. The sanctuary, though still standing, bore the scars of the battle, and many lives had been lost. In the aftermath, Ayla willingly donated her genetic material to develop a treatment that halted the Tharn's accelerated aging. It was a monumental breakthrough, offering hope for a future free from the specter of death that had haunted them since our arrival. Jason defied his orders and chose to stay with the Tharn, his loyalty to our mission unwavering. Together, Nira and I worked to negotiate a new alliance between humans and the Tharn, built on mutual respect and understanding. The establishment of a joint council marked the beginning of a new era of cooperation. Nira and I found our love for each other solidifying amidst the trials we had faced. Our commitment to building a shared future became a symbol of the unity between our races. Ayla, now a symbol of hope, was accepted by both Tharn and humans. She chose to live among humans, bridging the gap between our species and ensuring lasting peace. The Tharn, rejuvenated and embracing their mortality, looked to the future with newfound vigor. Humanity and the Tharn embarked on new journeys of exploration and discovery, forging a future that honored their past while looking forward to infinite possibilities. As I stood on the steps of the sanctuary, watching the dawn break over the forest, I felt a profound sense of hope. We had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged stronger, united by a common goal. Together we would explore the cosmos, our destinies intertwined, and our futures boundless. In the end, it was not just Ayla's unique abilities that had saved us, but our willingness to stand together, to fight for each other, and to believe in the possibility of a better tomorrow.